We are live. Welcome to the Baltimore SharePoint Users Group, May edition. I'm Shadi Laser. There's Thomas Carpe, Martin Lawrence, and David. Thank you for joining, as our speaker is currently here. Let's see. So we're getting logistics set up now.
Almost.
And so I'm going to go into some introductions here and some user group news, and then transition over to you to deliver your magic for the evening. Special thanks to our streaming partners who are broadcasting tonight's session, as well as our replay. So let me share my screen, and we'll go into a few announcements. Okay, so welcome to the Baltimore SharePoint Users Group. As I mentioned, I'm Shadi Laser, and I'm going to go into overview of the group. And so, Baltimore SPUG. How do I love you? Let me count the ways. We are Maryland's longest running Microsoft-focused community learning institution. So since calendar year 2007, every month since 2007, we have hosted at least a monthly meetup. And so I'm very proud of that continued streak. And so we've had over 4,500 Microsoft professionals trained, certified through either training resources or connections through our organization. And this month, it is now 25 Microsoft practices that were launched, started by members of BSPUG. So for a community to come together and continue to grow and build, I'm very proud of the progress where people have matured from, let's say, maybe they were employees who were laid off. Maybe they were self-employed and got the right resources, formed partnerships within the user group, and launched organizations, some of which have come back to sponsor our annual event, which is SharePoint Saturday or Microsoft 365 Saturday, which is a one-day community learning event, unconference, if you will. So special thanks to ProObject. And for those of you who are new to the group, prior to COVID, we would meet every month at the ProObject building 1 mile away from the Maryland Live Casino. And so special thanks to ProObject for their support and ongoing affiliation with the group. As we look to, let's say, start to meet in person again, we'll look to continue our meetings with ProObject. And so, moving along. Okay. So in terms of community news and events, many people are not aware of the Community Days platform. So I'm going to walk through that briefly. And so similar to SP Events, which was a portal where you could go and see the latest community events for SharePoint and or Office 365 at the time, Community Days is a similar platform that allows for Microsoft focused professionals to host their own one-day conferences, or in some cases, some are 2 days, but mostly one-day conferences. As you can see on the upcoming events, this is a global platform. So you have London, there's a number of, there's Minnesota. And so there was an event in Philadelphia that was, I believe it was canceled. But we also have New York City coming up, which for SharePoint Saturday, that has always been a big event. So I would highly recommend, because the same organizers are coming back together to run that event, to stay tuned for the launch of that. We also have Community Days Boston, which has a healthcare focus, which will be Friday, July 7th. And so on our radar here, in terms of virtual events centered around Power Platform, we have BizApps Online Conference. So again, you can go to communitydays.org and take a look at what's going on. When you scroll down, you have the dashboard of events in terms of sessions, speakers, schedule, etc. And the value of, let's say, one-day conferences such as SharePoint Saturday, or in this case, Community Days, is if you have a small practice, this is essentially a cost-effective way to get training for your entire team. We have Tom Carpe in this session tonight, and Tom with Liquid Mercury would bring his entire team for the weekend for SharePoint Saturday. And it's a great way for team members, developers, admins, senior professionals to not only learn, but also to connect and network with the professionals who are driving the industry in terms of the blog posts, the books, the resources, the thought leadership. And Community Days is no different. And so if you're just getting started, it gives you the opportunity to learn more about different facets of the platforms that you want to work with, because there's different information tracks. So if you're a beginner and you may want to learn about, let's say, Power Platform versus Microsoft 365 or SharePoint or Microsoft Teams, you can choose your own sessions throughout the day and get as much training in as possible, connect with other professionals who are in those sessions, and speed up the learning curve. That's what user groups bring to the table. That's also what conferences bring to the table, in that my goal in hosting any of these sessions over the years is for you, the attendee, to go back to work and have one resource that you can share that helps your organization, or at a minimum, helps you to look a lot smarter in front of your coworkers. So that's always the goal. So Community Days is a great platform that has recently emerged, and I highly encourage you to get involved. And so let's move along here. Let's see. Okay, and without further ado, we have our featured speaker of the evening. And so with the AI revolution, AI has been around for quite some time, but there are certain tools that have captured let's say, the attention around the globe, especially in the tech community. And we always want to know how we can utilize AI to be smarter, faster, more effective within our work centers. And so what we have is the opportunity, an international opportunity, to learn from the best. And so what I like about this session is it's applying, let's say, new technology or new methodologies to workflows, which is something that we've all worked with, something we all have our pros, our cons. We think we know about workflows, but then you say, well, how can AI change the way we work? And so what we have is our featured speaker who will deliver your magic. So What I'm going to do in the background is serve as moderator for any questions that come across in the chat. So if you have questions, you can ask questions at any part of the session, but I'm going to pause at certain strategic points to introduce those questions so you can get answers. So please introduce yourself. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. You have the capability to share your screen, sir. So please take it away.
Thank you, Shadid. Hello, everyone. Let me just share my screen then. Can you see that now?
Yes, okay.
Fantastic. So, yeah, I think then we can start. Hello, everyone. My name is Zsolt Szaszak, and I also would like to introduce my colleague and friend, Zsolt Vámosi. Today, I think we have a really interesting topic, as you mentioned. We are going to create workflows, actually, a complete working workflows in live demo. But before that, I just would like to talk about something like 5 minutes, just in order to introduce our framework, our SharePoint automation framework, which enables us to integrate ChatGPT or any type of AI and other services into SharePoint. I hope that you are going to find it as interesting as we do, because we believe that this is a really interesting topic. But beforehand, before we actually starting our demo, I just would like to talk about a couple of minutes about the framework. Is going to be very, very quick. So yeah, obviously many of you are SharePoint expert, and I believe most of you know really well SharePoint and its capabilities. It's absolutely a great platform. We've been working with SharePoint since like 20 years. However, if you would like to take this platform SharePoint to the next level, and you really about to build custom solutions, custom workflows, custom applications, usually this really it can be really challenging, and it's a kind of time-consuming work. So yeah, and also it can be sometimes frustrating. SharePoint can be sometimes frustrating. So even with tools like Power Automate, creating and building up a complex business environment demands a great effort, and obviously it's absolutely time consuming. And a framework really can help in this case. So our framework is basically a system that provides a foundation for building solutions in SharePoint, and it includes pre-built tools and components, and also best practices. So that's something that we would like to show you today. SharePoint Automation Framework, how we call it, it's a SharePA is this short name. It's basically a no-code, low-code automation framework, and we are supporting SharePoint Online, On-prem, and hybrid environments. Just very quickly, I'd like to tell you about the history of this tool, because we started to build it up, to develop this application like 4 years ago, a long time ago. And we actually started with to create and support quality assurance goals and quality insurance processes. And when we started to build up the application itself, we just realized how complicated it is, and how many processes and type of processes that we need to model in SharePoint. So we started to create that kind of framework, and during that time we didn't know actually that we are starting to create a workflow or a framework. We just actually wanted to make our life much easier, to create tools where we can really, create flexible workflows. And by the time went on, we just saw that, we realized that with those tools, we can really achieve lots of things easily, relatively easily. So we kept on developing the tool itself, and we used actually traditional development tools for this development, and now we are taking steps to be even more Power Platform conform in order to achieve a higher level of compatibility or cross compatibility, let's say. So yeah, our goal was to transform the whole SharePoint environment and infrastructure into a truly comfortable working environment. And yeah, the goal is to reduce time and efforts, and end of the day, of course, cost. I hope that we did our homework. You are going to judge it end of the day. Yeah, and what is SharePA for? As I mentioned, SharePA can be used for a wide range of projects or goals. Let's look at some examples. Perhaps the most important and for sure the most common way to use SharePoint is to manage documents, and to create document-based workflows is really, I believe, the most common case, the most important one. We can actually automate any type of document handling process, but of course in SharePoint you don't only manage documents or not just documents, it's data or any other type of content that it can be, and obviously we can automate that type of content as well. And SharePoint automation can be a powerful tool for supporting compliance and transparency. We can provide a centralized platform for managing audit trails, defining dynamic access and dynamic control. We can provide reporting and analytics as well, which is, I believe, quite important thing. Just a couple of words about how our architecture was built. Our software components are in Azure, basically, and we designed SharePoint automation as native as possible. So we are keeping all our data, even the workflow data, and basically everything in SharePoint list. And of course, you can connect different type of application services, such as SAP or AI. And today we are going to show you AI integration in our demo. That's my last slide. So, and frankly speaking, I don't want to elaborate too much about each point. I just wanted to show you this slide because I believe those features deliver great value, and I really wanted to show you that we designed all the tools that you need to really speed up SharePoint based development and SharePoint based processes. So I think that's all I wanted to tell you about the framework itself, and I'd like to hand over the stage to Zsolt, my colleague. who's going to show you how to build a workflow with the assistance of ChatGPT. Zsolt, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Zsolt. Hi, everyone. Nice to have you here with me. Can you hear me? No, because I have been...
We can hear you.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to try to share my screen now. Okay, I can't do it. It's here, but it says host disabled attendee screen sharing. Hold on.
Okay, you should be able to share now. If
pressing and yeah, it works. And I'm just gonna select entire screen and share.
there we go.
Let me know if you can
There
see
we
me.
go.
My
You
screen.
can see SharePoint Online demo.
Yeah, excellent.
Perfect.
That's the one. So a couple of words, just as a forward, just to explain what you see here. As my colleague explained, we have a framework, a SharePoint-based framework that helps us build applications. We created a couple of demo sites, and this is one of them. I'm gonna use this site to guide you through the, well, we're gonna focus on the workflows. So I'm gonna use this site to guide you through the, through building a simple workflow with the help of ChatGPT. As you can see, we have quite a few components here on this site. This site was built primarily with quality management in mind. So as you can see, we have audits, risks, KPIs, and all different kinds of components. I'm not going to talk about quality assurance now, quality management. We're going to focus on the workflow component, which is it's an underlying component that drives all the other modules processes. So basically, this engine can drive any workflow related to anything that we keep track here in the system. Basically, all our data are stored in SharePoint lists. So if you have a SharePoint list about something like a holiday request or an asset inspection, whatever information you have a SharePoint list for, you can create a workflow in the system for that using that information. And I'm going to show you now how this works. We have we have a shortcut for the workflow engine, so I'm just gonna use that. Here you can see all the workflow templates that we have on our demonstration site, and these are quite a few. But in real application, there would be many more. These are just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to show you, as you can see, I have already created the template for the ChatGPT workflow that we are going to create with the ChatGPT. This is empty now. I could just create a new one right here. It works like this. And we fill out a couple of information, and there's the new workflow. This one has already been created. We have already experimented with this interface. So I'm just gonna show you how it works. First, I'll show you an already created workflow. Let's say document change request. We have workflow versions. So in time, flows can change, so we can keep track of these changes. And I'll show you what a workflow looks like in our system. This is our workflow engine. This is a somewhat complicated flow. We're not going to create something this big. We shoot for something simple, but this is a workflow that is actually driving. These steps are actually creating tasks in the system, and these other steps are executing automatically different functions that we have configured here in the system. So basically, this is something that I or my colleagues would be building in the system. And now we are going to make ChatGPT to do this. So I'm going to go back and use this template that I have already created. I'm going to go for versions here. As you can see, I already have a draft version, but I'm just going to create a brand new one. I'm going to name it GPT-2. Just a couple of information. This is going to be our active workflow version. There's always one active version. And I'm going to open the design interface. This is where I would normally start creating or building the workflow. I would be creating steps. This is our step list that we can use when we find new workflows. I would be creating these ones and connecting them and adding decisions and stuff like that. I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to be lazy, and I'm going to be generating a workflow using ChatGPT and using a predefined text. I was thinking how to do this, and first we're going to start with a simple one. I've just made two descriptions, a simple one and a somewhat more complicated one. I'm going to start with a simple one, and I'm going to just copy the text. All we have to do is put the text here. This is a input window, and when I press generate, we're going to send this information to the interface of the ChatGPT AI engine, and I'm just going to press it quickly. I hope everything works fine. This is going to take about a minute, and meanwhile, I'm going to explain how it works. As you could see, we have a workflow engine that has its own logic. And when we send this information to the ChatGPT, we are sending with it a pre-fabricated, pre-constructed context description. This description tells the AI how our engine works. So what components it has, how steps are connected to each other, how decisions work in this system. And based on that information, ChatGPT will be able to give us a package of information that actually is structured in a way that our system can immediately use. So basically, we are teaching the AI how we work and asking the AI to give us a process description, process definition that our system understands. And this is what happens when everything goes fine. This is a simpler process, very simple one. As you can see, just one decision step, just setting states. And we could already be using this. We have to dress it up a bit. And I'm going to do that in our, I'm going to override this one. And I'm going to create another workflow. And I'm going to dress up that workflow, and we are going to actually use that workflow and run some approval. As you can see, this description is somewhat more complex. We have two levels of approval, and with two decisions, both can say approve or reject. And the document is only going to be approved if both levels approve. So this is the gist of the flow. As you can see, this is like 2 lines, not a lot of details. So this is just the basics of the flow. So I'm just going to hit generate. All right, this is going to take about a minute again. I didn't prepare any speech for this pause. So we are just going to wait a little bit. Meanwhile, I'll just tell you how that obviously we didn't create the perfect description first, so we have experimented a bit, and we have tried a couple of descriptions, and there's a certain element of trial and error in finding out which descriptions work. But basically, as you can see, this is just a natural language description, so anyone could use this description. And these are obviously just the first steps in the incorporation of AI into our system. Okay, let's just give it a few more seconds. And there's the new one. As you can see, this is a bit more complex. Didn't arrange it quite that nicely, so I'm going to rearrange it a bit. And yeah, like these. As you can see, if you recall the description, we had two approval levels, and both of them can approve and reject. And they are right here, and we also have these two steps that will change the state of the documents according to the decisions made. As you can see, we didn't really say anything about who should do the approvals. So we are going to provide these information. We're going to dress up this basic flow, and then we are going to actually use this to drive through an approval process. So what we are going to do is we are going to add some information for each step. Basically, the most important informations are like deadlines, and the most important one is who should do this task. And I'm going to use an information here that I will explain later. Just to remind you, we have a couple of roles here. These are all related to the documents, and these are actually document information. So our workflow engine has access to the documents data that the process is about. And we are going to use, I'm going to explain this a bit later when we start the workflow, but let's just keep in mind that I have selected reviewers here, and I'm going to select approvers in the next step. These are just different user groups. You will see what they mean. Let's see, what else do we have to do? I'm usually changing the state of the document when we start the workflow. This is not obligatory. I'm just kind of used to it. And we are going to send out a notification as well. These are just the basic information. I'm going to do the same for the next step. Just bear with me 1 sec. And approvers in this occasion. I'm not going to change the state again. So we are keeping that state, and we are sending a notification as well. As you can see, I have told the system who should do the user steps. These steps are made for users, and we have some other kinds of steps that are automatic steps. So I'm just going to configure these ones as well quickly. These steps are responsible for changing the states depending on the decisions. So I'm just going to quickly configure that one. I forgot which one. Rejected. We don't have rejected, but declines is just as fine. And one, and the other, and this one's going to be approved. We have approved. That's good. Okay. The workflow could be started now. The only thing we didn't define that we are going to do now is what the users should see when they execute these tasks. So I'm going to explain a little bit about the workings of the workflow. As you can see, we have some user steps here. Each user step means that one of the users has to do, or some of the users has to do something in the system. This means that they have a task in the system. I'm going to show you, we have a task list in the system that each user can access, and they can access their own tasks. And whenever they open a task like this, we present a certain group of information for them that would help executing this task. So I'm just going to define this task form that collects all the information. I'm not gonna do a fancy one. We're going to do a simple task form, just all the bare necessities. And we are going to do that with our Visual State Editor. This is our form editor. And I'm going to, these are all different content types that we have defined on the document list. And I'm going to use the QA document form parts. As you can see, we have different components here that we can use. I'm going to use the entity fields and the task fields components, just the basics. Entity fields means just the document data, information about the document. We have access to that, document data. And I'm just going to select a couple of fields like title, maybe version, maybe name, state can come, reviewers and provers, so that you can see what I mean by them. We can check them out, and we can say, we can even tell the system that we don't want anything to be edited, just make decisions. So this is how we create one part of the task form, and this is the task data. And here, main information is deadline and the decisions that we have to make. So these are the two basic informations. Decisions can be edited. Deadline is just for display. So we have the task form. We have created it. And now I'm just going to have to do the same for the second approval step. I'm going to be lazy again. And I will just copy this one. And I'm going to export. There it is. And then I'm just going to import. Okay, as you can see, same thing is here. So I'm just going to save this. And now we are ready for this workflow. So basically, this is a workflow that was created by the AI, and we have just dressed it up a little bit. So let's do that. I'm going to open a new tab, and I'm going for our documents. This is a document workflow that we have created. And I'm going to open our document management module. As you can see, we have built up a couple of modules, but one of them is a document management module. We have a couple of documents here, and the system already contains a basic workflow selection, a pre-designed workflow selection that this document management system uses. For example, we can publish, archive, we can modify documents, and also we can use our newly created workflow to do some approving. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a brand new one, and that will be something like, yeah, this looks good. This system is configured in a certain way. We have a pre-built automatic processes as well, automatic workflows, and I'm going to trigger one now because it is automatically triggered. First, I'm going to add some additional information, and here, as you can see, these two fields, reviewers and approvers, we are going to use these fields to guide the workflow. Actually, what we did here when we said use reviewers and use approvers, we said that use whoever is in the documents reviewer field or the documents approver field. We can use any user. I'm going to use myself now. So that I get the tasks, but this could be anyone, be Vincent or those. This is an access. We access the SharePoint users, so anyone can be selected here. We don't need to bother with the rest of the information. For our purposes, this is what we need. So we have created or uploaded a document, and we have provided it with the necessary information for the workflow to go. And I'm going to check out if the initialization workflow has started, because we have a workflow tab where we can check out the workflow history for each element, and we are in the middle of the flow. Just a few seconds. It's an automatic flow, but it has to generate a identifier, and basically that's it. I think we are good. Yes, it's finished. So basically, this was our initialization workflow. And now the document is prepared and ready, waiting to be sent for approval. And I'm going to do just that. And I'll start the workflow. Okay, as I have explained, the workflow is going to create some tasks. So I'm going to go for my task list. And this is where all the tasks are collected. I'm going to use my active tasks. It can be filtered in many ways, so I'm just going to use the default filter. And let's just check out. And here is my task. So basically, what happens whenever there's a user interaction needed, a user step, we receive a task in our task list. And opening this task, we can actually do this. This is our task form that we are opening now. As you can see, this is what we have just configured in the workflow configuration phase. This is our document data part, and this is our task data part with the deadline and the decisions. This is going to be the same for both of our steps. This is just some basic data about the document. I could open the document here and check this out, and I can say if I approve or reject. I'm going to approve now, so that we can move to the next step. I could save the information that I have provided, and and move the workflow later, but we can do the same. We can do both at the same time. Okay, so what's happening now is we have made the decision approve, and the approver, whoever is in the approver, which is going to be me again, will receive a task, and we'll have to make another decision, and we'll see what happens based on that decision. I'm going to tell you in advance what I'm going to do. I'm going to approve so that we can see the setting of the approval state. And hold on, I'm just gonna have to refresh. And here's my second approval. Come on, open the task. This is going to look familiar. And I'm going to approve again. We are nearly at the finish line. Please wait. Okay, so we made an approved decision again. So the document should be in an approved state. Let's check this out. And it's approved. And we can check out the workflow history as well, just to see what happened. And we can see that that was the first approval. I approved, and then I approved again. And then we set the state. And now the document is approved. It is actually ready to be published, so we could just send it to publish. So this was what I wanted to show you. This is the most important picture that you have to take away. That based on a short description, we were able to prompt the AI to actually give us a framework or a basic flow that we can use later. Obviously, this is just the first step, and we are working on our goal is to be able to feed complex workflow descriptions, process descriptions to the AI, so that a significant amount of time can be saved while building these workflows. My experience is that it about halves the necessary time to build a workflow in this way. Okay, thank you for your attention, and I will point back to maybe Zsolt or maybe our host.
Yes, are there any questions at this time for our presenters? Any questions? Please leave them in the chat, and I will moderate. Okay, no questions or comments. Well, I'd like to thank our featured speakers this evening for walking us through a new way to go about workflows in SharePoint using AI and Chat GPT. And so stay tuned for next month's session, which will be the third Thursday in June, as we will bring a featured speaker once again, delivering another topic around either Microsoft 365 or Power Platform. So please stay tuned to our meetup page for more details. On behalf of our featured speakers, the replay of this will be aired next week, as well as it being sent to our mailing list. And so let me see if there's an additional question here. Okay, thank you, Wendy. And so Thank you very much for tuning in. Please enjoy your evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye.
Bye for now.